The skinny fat dilemma, one of the most common problems new gym goers face. Today we'll go over what skinny fat is, what your options are, and what my advice for you is. Alright, wasting no time, let's talk about what exactly skinny fat means. Now if you type skinny fat into Google, this is what the AI will tell you. Skinny fat refers to having a normal BMI but a high body fat percentage and low muscle mass, aka metabolically obese with normal weight. Here are some visual examples to look at. As you can see, all of these physiques fit the description. Low muscle mass, high body fat, while not appearing to be too overweight. This is probably the most common starting point for gym goers, and why there is such a dilemma among these lifters when first starting out. So what is this skinny fat dilemma? Well, if you've consumed even the slightest amount of fitness content online, you've probably heard terms such as bulking and cutting. And you've probably heard some people say you can only build muscle while bulking and it's impossible to build any while you're cutting. Then there's other things like lean is law, or you can only look good if you're lean. So for all of these beginners, this is where the dilemma occurs. They hear all of these matter-of-fact statements about bulking, cutting, being lean, being in a deficit, etc. And they become conflicted. Well, I'm not lean, so maybe I should cut until I get a six-pack. Then I will look good. Oh, but I won't have enough muscle, I'll just look skinny. Maybe I should bulk instead. So they reach this fork in the road where they feel they have to commit to one path. They can bulk, they can cut, and a third option is a recomp. Let's briefly go over the pros and cons of each option. Starting off with bulking. Now bulking is a double-edged sword with a very clear pro and con. That is increased muscle gain while also coinciding with increased fat gain. Of course, with the increased muscle gain, your physique will end up looking better when you cut down eventually. Another pro is your performance in the gym itself. You will get stronger faster if you are bulking. If you're a beginner, you'll be gaining strength no matter what, but if you like seeing those numbers go up faster, then maybe bulking is for you. Now the increased fat gain is definitely the main drawback when it comes to bulking from a skinny fat physique. Visually speaking, your physique won't exactly be wowing anyone until you actually cut down and get lean. Now with the added muscle, it will look better, but you will still be higher body fat, especially since you started at a high body fat. Mentally, this could affect your motivation to keep going to the gym, because if you're bulking from a skinny fat physique, the progress may not be as apparent as you would think. You'll be gaining muscle and you'll be getting bigger, but visually it will still look a bit soft. And one more pro to bulking is the fact that you do get to eat more food. But if you are on the fatter side of the skinny fat spectrum, it's certainly not the healthiest thing to go on a super big bulk when you're already starting at a high body fat percentage. Now, onto cutting. The pros and cons are essentially the opposite of what we just went over with bulking. Another pro is that visually, you will be seeing more drastic changes at a faster pace. So while you may not have as much muscle, you will start to see more of it faster. And of course, a con to cutting is that you will not be gaining strength as fast as you would on a bulk. In fact, if you cut down too quickly or improperly, you might even lose strength. And on top of that, you will be eating less food, which is certainly a big adjustment for those of you starting in the skinny fat zone. And finally, we have the recomp. Recomp, aka recomposition. To keep it simple, a recomp is essentially when you eat at maintenance while continuing to train hard in the gym. The thought is you will gain muscle as you continue to train hard in the gym while also losing fat at the same time. Sounds amazing, right? Case closed. Unfortunately, it's not that simple, because while a recomp can work, especially for beginners, progress will actually be slower on both fronts. You won't be gaining muscle as fast, and you won't be losing fat as fast, compared to what you would see on a traditional bulk or cut. But like I said, recomps do especially work well for beginners, because this is when you will be building the most muscle. Alright, So what is my advice for all of you skinny fat strugglers out there? Well, to be completely honest, there is no one-size-fits-all answer. I do in fact think it should be considered on a case-by-case basis, but I will throw out some general points here so you can make that decision for yourself. Number 1. Consider your starting physique and your goal physique. Where exactly do you land on the skinny fat spectrum? If you are much closer to fat than skinny, you might want to consider cutting, and vice versa. If you are much closer to skinny than you are fat, you might want to consider bulking, and you do want to consider your goal physique. If you're new to consuming fitness content online, you probably don't have crippling body dysmorphia yet, so you might not actually even want to have a ton of muscle. You might just want to have a six-pack like Bruce Lee or Brad Pitt in Fight Club. If that's the case, you can just cut straight away while going to the gym, because your goal physique is much more attainable than you may realize. However, if you do want more muscle and you are on the skinnier side of the spectrum, you might want to consider bulking straight away. Short term, you may not be as satisfied with your physique, but for long-term muscle growth, the longer you spend in a caloric surplus, the better. Number 2, how quickly do you want to see results? I discussed this a little bit in my last video, but a lot of people go to the gym to see results. That is what they enjoy. They enjoy seeing the progress they make in their physique. And the truth is, you can lose fat a lot quicker than you can build muscle. And if you're just starting out, this can make a big difference in your physique. If you've been skinny fat your whole life and you diet down and see your six-pack for the first time, your mind will be blown. So if you just want to see the biggest change in your physique as quickly as possible, cutting could be an option for you. However, if you are more patient, you could consider doing a recomp or even bulking, as long term you would probably put on more muscle. Number 3, how seriously will you take your diet? Now obviously the diet is worth discussing. If you're brand new to the gym, you probably don't know a whole lot about dieting or tracking calories or anything like that. So frankly, it is much easier to just focus on your training, because as a beginner, you will continue to see results as long as you're training hard and staying consistent. You can definitely recomp your body just by adding the gym to your routine. So if you don't change anything about your diet and just start going to the gym consistently and training hard, you will see a difference in your physique. I think this does actually make things a lot less overwhelming for beginners. You don't have to worry about your diet at all. You just go in the gym and train hard. All you have to do is try to eat a decent amount of protein and go to the gym, and your body will end up recomping itself over time. And then once you are more serious about the gym, then you can turn your focus to a traditional diet like a cut or a bulk. If you really want a general course of action for most skinny fat guys, here's what I'll say. I would start tracking your calories, at least in general, and find what your maintenance is. Then I would either stay at maintenance or drop into a 100 to 200 calorie deficit. From there, I would focus on staying consistent and training hard in the gym. Eventually, you'll reach a point where you can start to see your abs, and for a lot of guys, this is a big improvement in their physique. By this point, you'll likely be truly committed to the gym, and you'll be ready for your first real bulk, which is where the real gains are made. Or maybe you'll want to get a little leaner first, and then you can make even more room for that bulk. That's all for this one, fellas. Any support is appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one.